Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.
Happy Friday, everybody. Friday starts the weekend, and we are here to make your weekend a profitable one through the props betting market. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Joining me, as always, my fellow prop masters, Matt Josephs from SportsMemo.com, Andrew McGinnis from WagerTalk.com, and Moneyline Matt Quallis from SportsMemo.com. We've got a lot coming up, including our best bet at the end of the show. It's going to be a full series prop, and we got baseball in full swing. We've got NBA and NHL playoffs starting, so we've got individual games and series props to go on. Add to that, we've got MMA with UFC and PFL this weekend, so there's an absolute ton to get to today, guys. No time to waste. Matt Josephs, coming to you. MLB season, we've got probably enough stats and enough games under our belt to really start dialing in some of our plays. So what have you noticed about the early K-prop trends? You're my go-to guy with K-props. What have you noticed so far this season?
Yeah, obviously, if your team's bad now, it's never going to get better. So just be ready for a long season. We've got enough games that obviously we know how this year's going to go. If you're really good, like the Rays are never going to lose. So like this is the early trends. But obviously with regards to the K props, there are some things that you can kind of notice right now. So I kind of singled out 5 really quick facts that I'll give you. Last year, the Astros were one of those teams that were reliable under for the most part. They averaged just 4.12 strikeouts overall against starting pitchers. This year, that number is 5.92. They're actually striking out an average of 7.3 games in 10 contests against right-handed starting pitchers. So clearly, they do not have the trash cans, the buzzers, or any of that sort of stuff going. They do not know what's coming this year. So the Astros now an over, at least for now, unlike last year when they were a reliable under. The Royals have gone over in 9 of their 13 games against starting pitchers. They're averaging 6.3 strikeouts per game. So that's a pretty big number there. Today, the Twins are facing just their second left-handed starting pitcher of the season. That's Nestor Cortez of the New York Yankees. Their only other time this season, they faced Jesus Luzardo. He had 10 strikeouts in that one. So not enough numbers yet, but obviously we've played like 12 games and they've only seen one left-handed starting pitcher so far this season. In the National League, one of the favorite trends that we've talked about a lot on this show is the Coors Field effect for the opposing pitchers. Colorado just finished up their first homestand of the season. It is 7 games long. They went over 4 times and 3 unders. Last year it was 34 overs and 40 unders. So something just to kind of watch. They're right around 500 there. And then one of my favorite stats is my beloved Phillies. They've gone under their K-prop in 9 of 13 games, despite averaging over 6 strikeouts per contest. So the books are setting high numbers for them. They're going under those high numbers, but they're still striking out a ton. Case in point, yesterday, Nick Lodolo had 7.5 strikeouts as his number. He went under that number and had only 6. So they're striking out a lot, but the books might be putting their numbers a little bit too high so far this season.
Always great information from Matt Josephs at sportsmemo.com. Go grab all of his plays over there. Nobody better in the K-prop market as far as I'm concerned. Great stuff, Matt. Thank you. Andrew, coming to you. NHL playoffs are finally here. And there's series props. There's individual player props. And, man, this first round, there are tons of games every single night. So break it down for us. What do we need to know about props going into these NHL playoffs?
I mean, there's just so many different places I could go here with this, Andy. But I guess the first thing I would say is that looking at team rankings, number one, looking at how they fare at home, which different style of hockey teams play in the playoffs is important, but also looking at some of these teams that just seem to be a different type of hockey team when they play at home versus on the road. I'm looking at the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm looking at the Carolina Hurricanes, looking at the Boston Bruins. Certain teams that just look like completely different teams when they are at home, Andy. And I'm telling you, it is a big difference. So that's one thing that's worthy of taking a look at. If you want to look ahead and make some player props on those teams, I'd probably take a look at playing them at home. But overall, I think sticking to what we already saw in the regular season, moving it towards the postseason here with looking at some of the leaders with shots. I mean, the Panthers have a really tough matchup here in the first round. They're going to face against the Boston Bruins. They finished number 1 in shots on goal per game. So you got to think, even in games they're struggling, I know the Bruins have a good defensive game. When you've got a team averaging 35, 36 shots per game, they're going to be getting some high numbers. And I will preach this all playoffs long. And you talked about this last year or a couple years ago with like Toffoli and different players like that. You can make money betting on teams that you do not think will win the series, but betting on player props with those guys. And I feel like it's a really big thing that people miss is that they pick their team to win the series, guys, and they think they have to bet props just on that team because they're going to be the team that wins. There can be guys that get shots on goal, power play points, whatever it might be, but it does not mean that their team is going to be the team that wins it. Power play percentages, look at the top of the league there with Colorado, with Boston. Surprisingly enough, the Los Angeles Kings, guys, a team to watch out for with the power play points. But the NHL's decided, looking at these NHL rankings for shots on goal per game, shots allowed per game, I think is really important. And, a lot of times in the regular season, we were just focusing on fading teams like Columbus and Anaheim and my Montreal Canadiens. They're out now. So now you got to look at teams like the Vegas Golden Knights, the Oilers, Minnesota Wild, Tampa Bay Lightning, teams like that to try and bet on and bet against. And I feel like we can definitely do that with some of those. So as the weeks progress here on Prop It Up, I'll be updating in some of these segments, just like this one, on some of the power ratings for the postseason shots on goal, shots against, because as you know, Andy, some stuff translates into the postseason and some stuff is just a clean slate. So in my next segment in a little while, I will be talking about a couple actually specific playoff series wagers and some props in that aspect. But I kind of wanted to just mention a couple different things I'm looking at going in. I'd say home ice advantage is definitely a big thing for me with the prop market as well.
Yeah, I can't wait. This is a great time of year for the bankrolls in NHL. So, and that Florida Boston series, there could be some records set with some of the shots on goal we're going to see. So excited for that. I'm going to do something that talk about something that I've never really talked about, and because I haven't really played it, but I've been having a lot of success with MLB same game parlays. And we've actually not lost any of them since we've submitted them. And I've got one as an example today. And the premise of the same game parlay is to look at a team that is going up against a really bad pitcher and how can we fade the really bad pitcher. So the books will put out, team totals that are pretty high or game totals that are pretty high, or even the K props like Matt mentioned. You can find some unders just because the books put them out so high. But when we go to same game parlays, we can really take advantage of the alt line. So I'm going to build the same game parlay for everybody. And this is actually a client play that is up right now. So you can see the mindset here. So if we could pull up the graphic for it here, I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. And we've got Jose Berrios. Sure. The premise is fading Jose Berrios here, who has really struggled. And so I want to fade Berrios here, but the lines are just a little bit too high. I can't figure out if I want to take the Tampa Bay Rays to go over their team total. I can't figure out if I want to take Jose Berrios to go over his to take Jose Berrios to go over his K prop. So what I'm looking at doing is I'm going to start with Jose Berrios on the alt line to allow 4+ hits. He's allowed 9 hits to Kansas City and 6 hits to the Angels. So that's 15 hits and 9 2/3 innings pitched. Tampa gets 9.54 hits per game. That's 5th best in MLB. So I'm going to start my same game parlay with 4+ hits for Berrios. And then I'm looking at the Rays over 3.5 for their team total on the alt line here. The Rays have gotten 4 runs in every game except one this season. Berrios has given up 6 and 8 runs just by himself in 2 starts. In those 2 games that he pitched, both the opponents scored 9 runs. So I believe Tampa should get to 4 runs today. And then I'm going to try and find one more piece to throw in there. And when you got Rasmussen playing, you got to go look at his strikeouts. Give me 3+ strikeouts on the alt line. He's been great in his 2 starts. He's got 8 and 7 strikeouts against Oakland and Washington. And that's a really solid number because Washington strikes out the least amount per game in MLB right now. Detroit starters all got 3+ Ks versus Toronto. So that's how we build the same game parlay. We're fading Berrios through this method, and then we're going to add Tampa starter to get a low strikeout total. And this is only -130. I've cashed every single one of them, and it's a great way to fade a pitcher, and you don't have to deal with the exact lines, the full lines that the books give you. So baseball same game parlays, I will certainly keep doing that as the season goes on. Moneyline Matt, coming to you. Let's talk about NBA. We got a couple play-in games, though, before we get to the playoff series. So what do you have for the play-in games tonight? What should we be looking for in the props market?
Yeah, for the play-in games tonight, we have the Bulls versus Heat, which is a 5.5 spread, 209 total. So a lower total game there. And then we have the Thunder against the Wolves, another 5.5 point spread, and a 228 total in that one. Me personally, I'm going to be looking at the late game, the Thunder and the Wolves. The Bulls and the Heat is just one of those matchups where it's not exactly ideal from a prop perspective, unless maybe you're going with some rebounds or something along those lines. And the winner of the Bulls versus Heat will face the Bucks, and the Thunder and the Wolves will be facing the Nuggets. So once these two games are solidified, we will have that complete playoff picture ready to roll. And for me, all season long, one of the teams that I have loved to bet on is the Oklahoma City Thunder. And not just from a spread perspective, I really like targeting them in matchups due to the pace of play, due to the defense, and they do run a smaller style lineup on top of that. So oftentimes players can take advantage of that and be able to attack around the rim as well. So for me in this spot, I am definitely going to be taking a look at the Thunder. One of the reasons being is, yes, Rudy Gobert will be back in this matchup, but Jaden McDaniels still will be out. He ended up breaking his hand punching the wall in the tunnel after one of the games. And so he's still going to be out. And he's huge because he is that team's best on-ball defender. And as everyone knows, the Thunder have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, someone who, if you can't limit him or if you don't stop him from getting going, this Thunder team is generally willing or able to hit on all cylinders. So for me, I'm definitely taking a look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Another individual that I'll be looking at tonight is Jalen Williams. He kind of came off an off shooting night against the Pelicans, and he's been one of the more consistent rookies throughout the NBA all season long. And I think he very well could be an X factor in this matchup. So I'm definitely going to be taking a look at Jalen Williams. And the last guy that I'm looking at, I really love taking players in a bounce back opportunity, and that guy's going to be Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards had one of his worst shooting performances against the New Orleans Pelicans, and this is a great chance for him to bounce back at home. So Anthony Edwards is also going to be someone I'm looking at in this spot. But overall, I think if you're targeting a game tonight, it's going to be the Thunder and the Wolves. And again, I will be taking a look at the Thunder. I like them from a spread perspective, just a team I've been betting with all season long, 22-18-1 against the spread on the road, while the Wolves are 19-22 against the spread at home. So a little advantage there for the Thunder. And for such a young team, they seem very comfortable in these situations. So I'm okay backing them in this spot. And then once again, I'm looking at Anthony Edwards, Jalen Williams, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Great stuff from Moneyline Matt at sportsmemo.com. Great job, guys. And we're going to get our best bet here at the end of the show. Matt, I'm going to come back to you, and you have a fascinating topic here. The 6 different ways to pick a win in baseball. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 6 different ways to pick a win. I've been looking forward to this all morning. So what different ways have you found to pick a win in baseball?
Well, and I'll give all the credit to DraftKings here because they have the best and the most wide-ranging props when it comes to Major League Baseball, and I find that they're the best when it comes to props in all the sports. I mean, we noticed on your little graphic that it was a DraftKings graphic. So basically, look, there are 6-ish, I mean, some of these are stretching. Obviously, and this is where you could kind of get a little creative, and you can go and you can take a look and, like, let's say you like the Reds tonight, and you don't like the price. Of course, I mean, it's a good price tonight if you like the Reds. But there's a bunch of different ways that you could kind of take advantage of it. The obvious ways are obviously the money line, which a lot of times if you like a team, they're probably a really big favorite. There is the run line, which obviously sometimes if you do like a really big favorite, the run line can get a little bit pricey. Plus, if you like a team and maybe their bullpen's not the best, you don't want to necessarily get involved with the run line. Maybe they're a home team and there's an opportunity for a top of the ninth run to kind of screw you there. So you could do that. You can also look at the first 5 innings. If you think that your team is going to get a massive lead that will lead to a victory, first 5 money line, first 5 run line are also 2 other ways. And then when you look at DraftKings, DraftKings has to record a victory for any sort of starting pitchers. And I've kind of started tinkering a little bit with some parlays in terms of trying to pick pitchers who are not, like taking 3 pitchers who are not necessarily going to get victories and kind of parlaying them together and seeing how that's going to work out. Of course, if there's upsets, that then you're going to lose that sort of thing. But if you have the utmost faith in a Nestor Cortez or a Taijuan Walker or something, you take them to record a victory. Then you kind of take everything else out of it. Of course, you need the team to win and him to go 5 innings. But I also like that. And then also DraftKings has this little creative thing that you could find in the game pop section to bat in the bottom of the 9th inning. That's another opportunity potentially to pick a victory. If you think the road team's going to win and you think there's a definite possibility that the home team is going to bat in the 9th inning, you take the yes. And there's often times where the yes is a reasonable price. If you think that the home team is going to win, then take the no. And that sometimes is at a reasonable price. So there are 6-ish type ways to take a victory if the money line or if the simple ways are a little too juicy for somebody in Major League Baseball.
So, Matt, a lot of those plays you were talking about, it's do you want to deal with the bullpens or do you only want to deal with the starting pitchers? For you personally, do you like the bets full game where we know we're going to get bullpens involved, or do you like trying to just focus on the starting pitchers?
Most of my bets are first 5 related. Some of my plays like today in the package that I have up are first 5 related. The only time I want bullpens are when you've got the better offense on the road and you're guaranteed to get 9 at bats. Like we had, like the olden days when the Orioles were bad and the Yankees and the Red Sox used to go to Camden Yards. You knew you were going to get 9 at bats from the Yankees and the Red Sox no matter what, and you kind of took advantage of that. You not so much looking at those things at Yankee Stadium and at Fenway because there was a chance those teams were not going to bat in the 9th inning. So for the most part, I'm a 5-inning guy. I'm a 3-inning guy, a 7-inning guy occasionally. But yeah, if I want the bullpens involved, it's when I'm taking an over on the road, guaranteeing that the road team's going to win and I'm going to get 9 at bats with that road team.
And another question for you. Are you gravitating towards any particular teams? I know you mentioned the Phillies. Have you found yourself kind of going back to the same team right now because of trends? And if so, how long do you think you have to ride that team out before there's an adjustment made?
Well, I mean, I think you're getting reasonable numbers for Kodai Senga's K-props. I was stunned. I should have pushed my mortgage, my life savings in on the 4.5 his first time out there against the Marlins. I mean, it was a perfect situation. He's going up against a team that strikes out a lot that's never seen him before, and he went over the 4.5, I think, by like the 3rd inning. And then he went over again. It was a 5.5 against the Marlins the second time. It's a 5.5 today. Now, obviously, it all comes down to juice tolerance, but you've got an Oakland Athletics team that strikes out a ton this season. I don't think the books have adjusted quite yet to Senga here in terms of how good he is and how much plus he's getting these teams that strike out a lot. He mentioned the Nationals who struck out the least. That'll be one of his next ones coming up, so we'll be interested to see what the books do with that one. But until anybody figures out the Mets pitcher, the low numbers are to my benefit, so I'm going to keep taking advantage of it. I did take it tonight at 5.5 with a reasonable juice, but yeah, there's some pitchers that they still haven't caught up yet. Mitch Keller got a reasonable number on Mitch Keller against the Astros at home. I don't know. He's kind of adjusted his pitch arsenal a little bit this offseason, and so far he's benefited greatly. We may not get a reasonable number in his next start, but Mitch Keller and Kodai Senga are 2 guys that I've kind of taken advantage of early.
Great stuff from Matt and Joseph. Always love his information on K-props and MLB props. You can find all of his plays over at sportsmemo.com. Andrew, coming to you, NHL series props. Before these series even get started, we could take advantage of the player props, individual games. It's really important to take a look at some of the series props. I don't think people quite realize how many of them are actually out there. There's not just who's going to win a series. There's all kinds of different things, and you're going to be giving us a series prop as your best bet here at the end of the show. But for now, talk about some of these series props. What can people expect to find? What can we gravitate towards, and how can we take advantage? Muted.
There are so many player props out there for the playoffs, but I wish there were a lot more for today's show. But of course, I will get to a few in just 1 second. But one thing I wanted to mention as well, Andy, overall, obviously this is the last Prop It Up show before the playoffs do begin. The Conn Smythe Trophy is pretty much the MVP trophy, NBA Finals, the MVP equivalent here in the NHL. Looking at that, compared to looking at a team to win the Stanley Cup is something I think you guys could all agree with me on is a really good idea. So the Boston Bruins, what are they right now to win the Stanley Cup? Well, over at DraftKings, they're plus 330. You can get David Pastrnak at plus 700 to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. And I'm looking at potentially Allmark, maybe their goaltender, maybe Bergeron, but I think Pastrnak, and you know it as well as I do, Andy, he is the leader of that team. He's the goal scorer. If they go to the Cup Finals, it's because of him. So he's plus 700 to win the playoffs MVP, and his team is plus 330 to win the whole thing. So that's a big difference to me looking at the whole thing with McDavid. The Oilers, where they sit right now, is plus 800. You can get a pretty good price as well on McDavid. Not too far off though on most books. Then McKinnon, he's 14-1 to win the Conn Smythe Trophy, but the Avalanche are plus 650 to win the Stanley Cup. So I did want to mention that. But overall, looking at these player props, look, there's going to be all kinds of props for the entire series. Head-to-head props. Who will have more points? This guy or that guy? Who will have more goals? This guy or that guy? And when I look at some of these props, what I really look at the most is which team has the most depth, right? Which team is going to need this guy to kind of put on the better performance, right? And when I look at some teams, looking at, like, let's say the Toronto Maple Leafs, we have most points in the series, Austin Matthews or Braden Point. And this is, obviously this series has been already decided for like 2 months now. So this is what we have the most information on right now. Braden Point is a solid player. He's more of a two-way hockey player. He's out there not just for offense, he's out there for defense. And I'm not saying Austin Matthews won't play defense, but he is out there to score goals. He's out there to create offense. He's out there to score power play goals. Whereas Braden Point will not be as heavily relied upon as Matthews will be. So you're not just taking one goal scoring prop for one game. You're not just taking in one game who will do better. You're saying probably over a 6 or 7 game series, who will perform at a higher clip. And at a minus 140 price, I think it's a pretty good price actually. Take a look at Austin Matthews between minus 140 and 150, just because I think Tampa actually has more scoring options. And Toronto really needs Matthews to be that guy. And one thing I think you guys will agree with me as well about playoffs, looking at the spreads with the series handicap versus the totals, right? Like if you want to get a team minus 2.5 games, you might as well just take how many games the series is going to end in, right? That's kind of what I always recommend to people. Looking at the total games, you always get a better number because there's that slight chance it might be the other team you don't think is going to win that wins in, let's say, 5 games. And that's really appealing to me in a series like the Boston and Florida. I do think that Boston will probably win that one in 5 or 6, but you can get a really good number on this series to end in 5 versus playing the series handicap. But Andy, so many different ways to look at it. I'm curious if you're going to be betting any of these series props, but that Matthews one versus Point, a little bit chalky, but I really like that one because I feel like he'll be a lot more relied upon than Point will be.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I've already got a play that I've made that involves a series prop that I use as a parlay piece. It's the it's an NBA prop, but I think a lot of times we overlook them. You can use these in your parlays. So I mean, you can get the Boston Bruins at -600 plus 1.5 games. That way, if something crazy happens and it ends up going to 7 games and Florida ends up winning, like, is that going to happen? Probably not. But -600. You only need one, maybe two other parlay pieces, and you've got a really, really nice bet there that can get you a couple units. So I like looking at some of the series props or the series spreads just to use as some parlay pieces. There's a lot of value in that one as well. I mean, Boston -1.5 games is only -145. So if you don't
Yeah.
trust this Florida team like I don't, then you can take advantage of that price as well. So great stuff from NHL series props from Andrew McGinnis, who is over at WagerTalk.com. He's going to have a best bet for us here coming up at the end of the show. Also, money line. Before we come to you, we've got a deal going on at Sports Memo and at Wager Talk. This is for first time customers. If you've never gotten any plays, there's no better time right now. We've got NBA playoffs, we've got MLB in full swing, we've got NHL. You can go to sportsmemo.com and just use the promo code TRYMEMO, get you 50% off your first daily or all access pass. And today is a great day. You get the entire weekend, and you can check out Matt Josephs and Moneyline Matt Qualis to see what they have going. It's a great way to try out a handicapper for your first time. Really encourage you to try that. And then Andrew and myself are over at wagertalk.com. You can use the promo code TRYWT, TRYWT. That gets you the same deal, 50% off your first daily or 3-day all access pass. Very busy weekend for all of us. So if you've never gotten a pack from us and you've been kind of thinking about it, want to dip your toes in the water, now is a perfect time. Get you 50% off. And today is a perfect day because it'll get you the rest of the day and the weekend. So, Matt, we're going to talk a little bit of NBA series props and then go over some UFC. Let you start. What do you like in some of these series props? Are you looking at some of the series spreads? Are you looking at individual player props? What's kind of got your attention as we go towards the playoffs here?
Yeah, Andy, with the playoff series props, I'm looking at a little bit of everything. And one series that I'm looking at in particular is actually the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers. And the reason I say that is actually because I think the 76ers just have a huge advantage over the Brooklyn Nets. They swept the season series against the Nets. And really, in my eyes, the glaring weakness is going to be Joel Embiid against Nicholas Claxton or Day'Ron Sharpe. And I know Embiid is a handful for anyone, but for the Brooklyn Nets, they're one of the worst rebounding teams throughout the NBA. They give up some of the most points in the paint. And I think this is going to be a series where we see Joel Embiid average 35 plus points, 10 plus rebounds throughout. So I think this is going to be a really tough series for them. And like you guys talked about earlier, the series spread, this is in the series spread is -2.5 to the Philadelphia 76ers. And I really like that. It's -160 right now over on FanDuel, and that is just one of those lines where it's very tough for me to see this Brooklyn Nets team getting 2 games throughout. I just can't personally see it happening. And in terms of some other props, you can take a look at the total games. And Andrew talked about this, and I was actually pretty surprised to see that the total games at 5 is +195, because the way that I see this being a 4-1 series for the Brooklyn Nets, and that's +195. But you look at the series correct score, and if that's 4-1 to the 76ers, that's actually +175. So in that one, you should actually probably just go with the total games. And again, with the series for a little bit further, you can bet point props. You can bet the leading scorer throughout the series. You can bet the leading rebounder, the leading assist getter on top of that. So a lot of different options. And then if you're looking for something with a little bit of a Hail Mary type odds, you can actually predict exactly how you think the series is going to go. Like if you think it's a 76ers clean sweep, you can just say all 4 games sweep the 76ers. You think somehow the Brooklyn Nets win game 1 and then the 76ers win the next 4 and win 4-1, you can bet that as well. So a lot of these sports books now offer these really crazy kind of fun odds to make things a little more interesting throughout the series. And on top of that, you can parlay a lot of these as well. Again, to your point earlier, like you were saying, with Boston, Andy, I looked at the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies getting plus 1.5 games is minus 200. And this is a team that's favored in the series. And personally, I like this team more than the Lakers, even though they've gone on that run. And then you can combine that with maybe the 76ers or, maybe the Boston Celtics against the Hawks, whoever you like. And then you can get some plus money odds that way. So some really fun opportunities in terms of playoff series betting, and just wanted to talk about that briefly today.
I got to tell you, there's one underdog kind of play that I really like that's in the 76ers and Brooklyn series. James Harden is minus 400 for total assists. I like Spencer Dinwiddie at plus 230. Harden doesn't look 100%. I'm not sure he's going to be out there the entire time. Dinwiddie is the facilitator
I like that.
on that team. That guy is going to be playing a ton of minutes, and he averaged over 12 assists this month, and he's been a rebounds assist machine. That's how I've been cashing on him. Spoiler: I will be playing Spencer Dinwiddie over his rebounds and assists every game in this series. But yeah, I'm not sold that Harden is going to be the assist king with that Philly team, and all we need is one blowout where Harden doesn't play in the fourth quarter, and Dinwiddie's out there racking up some of the assists. So that one jumped off to me. Matt, when you look at these games and you look at these series, do you play the same prop every single game, or do you kind of take it game by game, and do you look at teams trying to make adjustments as the series goes on?
Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at teams trying to make an adjustment. With this one, I'll be honest, if it was two more competitive teams, I'd weigh heavier on it. But for me, with this Brooklyn Nets squad, I just don't see what adjustments they can exactly make to try and stop Joel Embiid. What you were saying earlier with the alternate series spreads, I'll play around with some of those just in case something does happen. Like maybe I'll take the 76ers minus 2.5 here, and then in another spot I'll take Nets plus 3.5 just to kind of hedge myself a little bit in case something crazy does happen. But this is definitely a series I feel pretty safe with. I do have an official play on this series actually as well over at sportsmemo.com. And for me in the playoffs on top of that, I'm not just going to be hitting game by game. If you are someone who likes futures, I will have futures out there. I will have some futures parlays, a little bit of everything, because I think there's a lot of spots in this playoffs, especially if you've been paying attention all season long, some spots definitely to take advantage of.
Great stuff from Moneyline Matt over at Sports Memo. Let's jump over to UFC. Not the most exciting card on paper, but one thing about this card is we don't have any of those huge, big-time favorites. Most of these lines are fairly close. I think there's going to be a lot of fights going the distance, and I'm looking at some of the over props. That's where I will be attacking this. Prop-wise, anything jump out to you here, Matt, that we should keep our eye on?
Yeah, so one thing I just wanted to talk about real quick is total strike props. And those are generally released closer to the actual fight. And I was looking at those for the Adesanya and Pereira fight. And, that one only went 2 rounds, and Adesanya got, I believe, 90 total significant strikes. And with Holloway and Arnold Allen, I'm really interested to see what that significant strike prop is going to be, just because these guys are going to stand and they're going to bang it out the majority of this fight. And I personally expect this fight to be a fight that goes 5 rounds. So for me, taking a look at significant strikes there for Max Holloway and maybe Arnold Allen as well. I still do believe Max Holloway is potentially the best boxer in the UFC. He's someone who puts out a lot of volume with every single bout that he has. So for me, I'm definitely going to be taking a look at that total strike prop once released. And like I said earlier, it tends to be released maybe like the morning of the Saturday of fight day. Just not released just yet.
I'm looking at Gaston Bolanos to win by TKO. The TKO is plus 120. You're looking at him at minus 195 to win straight up. He's fighting Aaron Phillips, who hasn't fought since 2020. And Bolanos is just he's a finisher. He goes out and it's, I don't want to say kill or be killed, but he hasn't been killed yet. I don't think he's going to be, I don't think he's losing this one. So I think he's going to overwhelm. I never trust fighters that are off of a long layoff. So I would expect Aaron Phillips to kind of struggle again. Bolanos has been fighting in Bellator. So this isn't a guy that's just come up through a bunch of chump leagues, he's going to be ready to go. So there's a really good way to take a minus 195 favorite and get him up to a plus 120 because he's finished all of his wins. So I would expect another finish there. And like we said, I mean, you go down the list and you look at some of these fights that Landon Veneta and Daniel Zellhuber. That's a beverage break if I've ever seen one type of fight. Nothing exciting is going to happen in that one, so that's probably going to go the distance. The Zach Cummings and Ed Herman, that's going to be another one that's probably going to go the distance. The Clay Guida and Rafa Garcia, that's a fight to go the distance if I've ever seen it. So there's just a lot of these fights that I just think they're going to cash these props to start round 2 and to start round 3. So that's kind of what I expect from UFC. And then PFL, I got to say I had a really nice PFL play, and that fight got canceled. So that canceled my entire PFL segment this morning. So let's get ready for it. Let's get ready for our best bet. Matt Josephs, though, real quick, tell everyone where we can find you at and what you have going up for this weekend.
I'll just instead use my time to say I wish good luck to Moneyline Matt on his Sixers plays, but trusting the Sixers in the past has been a fruitless thing, and I can fully see a scenario where this thing goes 6 or 7. So I wish him luck, obviously. I mean, I'm a Sixers fan. I want him to win, but they don't do anything easy. I do like your Dinwiddie play there. That was really good. I could see this thing going 6 because they make nothing easy, but good luck to you, Matt.
Thank you.
I love when Matt is salty towards his own hometown teams. Nothing better.
But then he always says
Matt,
if they do anything or win, he'll be right there to be on the bandwagon. He'll crap on them every day, but if they win, he's the biggest fan, in town. Right, Matt?
That's how it works. I'll be obnoxious when they win, but I'll also be obnoxious towards them when they lose.
Moneyline Matt, tell everyone where we can find you at, what you have up for this weekend.
You can find me over at sportsmemo.com. I already have 3 NBA plays loaded, 1 for tonight's play-in game, 2 for the playoffs starting on Saturday as well. Really looking forward to that Kings-Warriors game. Definitely going to be a game I'm attacking all series long. Then I also have 1 UFC play up currently on top of that. So go check it out over at sportsmemo.com.
I'm Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Only thing we really have going promo-wise is we've got a promo code PASS100. Gets $100 off a 30-day pass. We're 8-2 the last 3 days. We're almost to that plus 100 units for 2023, so really proud of that. And we're just dabbling in all sports. We had a great cash in lacrosse last night. We've been doing really good in MLB, same game parlays, soccer, tennis, a little bit of everything, golf as well. So hard to promote one sport right now because we're doing well in all of them. So just use the promo code PASS100, get you 30 days for $100 off. All right, guys, it's time for our best bet. Andrew McGinnis coming to you. First off, tell everyone where we can find you at, what you have for this weekend, and what's our best bet for this week.
Yeah, over at WagerTalk.com. This is definitely the best time to grab that 1 week pass or hop on board for the NHL playoff special. Series wagers, series props, so much going on. Every single day I'll be having props. I'm a lot more of a series guy. So anybody interested in my picks, you want to get in with me before the series starts, as those are where the bigger bets will take place. Between the series, it'll be a lot more 1%, 2% type stuff. Anybody that followed my stuff last year understands that as well. Baseball's off to a great start as well. You guys can grab some packages over at WagerTalk as well. Looking like just one play so far today in the majors. Getting into the best bet for today. We're going back to the series that I talked about the most earlier because there's the most available numbers and information. I'm going with William Nylander from the Toronto Maple Leafs to have more goals than Steven Stamkos from the Tampa Bay Lightning. And a lot of this just goes back to what I said before about how one team has a bit more depth of scoring, I believe, despite what some may believe, than, let's say, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto is going to be a very top-heavy team in the playoffs. They will live and die by the players that they paid. 4 players take up half their salary cap. And I believe that William Nylander is one of the ones that kind of doesn't get talked about enough. You hear about Tavares, you hear about Marner, Matthews, now Ryan O'Reilly. 7 points in the playoffs in the first round last year for Nylander. I expect lots from him this year. I'll take Nylander to have more goals than Stamkos at minus 120.
There's our best bet for propping up this week. William Nylander to have more goals than Steven Stamkos. Great stuff, Andrew. Thank you so much for that bet. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for everybody. Don't forget, we got puck time coming up after that wager talk today. NBA tip-off, MLB first pitch, get you ready for the weekend. Thank you to Matt Josephs and Moneyline and Matt Quallis from sportsmemo.com. Thank you to Andrew McGinnis from wagertalk.com. I'm Andy Lang from wagertalk.com. Good luck. Let's have a great weekend. And we'll see everyone next week on Prop It Up.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at WagerTalk? If not, here's your chance. You can take 50% off your first daily or 3-day all-access purchase at WagerTalk using coupon code TRYWT. Our new roster of experts is 30 deep, covering sports from all around the world, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem this offer is go to WagerTalk.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, and use coupon code TRYWT at checkout, saving 50% on your first purchase.